suspended ANC member Carl Niehaus has expressed indignation at the latest postponement of his alleged COVID-19 violation case. He was arrested while addressing the media outside the Estcourt prison when former President Jacob Zuma had been incarcerated back in July. He now joins us to explain his decision to express his frustration in an open letter. Now, Mr. Niehaus, good to have you on the program this afternoon. Firstly, talk us through your reservations about your case not making much progress in the courts.
Good afternoon, Shankar. Let me just first of all point out that I'm no longer suspended. My suspension has lapsed, so I am a full member of the African National Congress. With regards to this particular problem that I'm faced with, and also other members of the African National Congress are faced with, are these issues of charges being brought against members, obviously for factional political reasons, and then when those charges are becoming difficult for the NPA to follow through, one is faced with one postponement after the other. You will recall that the last time that I appeared at the Estcourt Magistrate Court on the 18th of August with a very heavy police and in fact defense force presence, 4 armored vehicles with submachine guns, soldiers all over the town, and in fact police with R5 automatic rifles inside the courtroom. So this was the action of a state that was trying to make this very minor case of an alleged COVID-19 contravention into a major issue. But yet, since the 18th of August until only last week, the National Prosecuting Authority was not even able to present my attorneys with the necessary documents that they want to present in court. So they had almost 3 months to do so. They took their time. And because they took their time and because of the inadequacy of their conduct, now this matter has to be postponed again. We've seen this kind of thing happening with the Secretary General of the African National Congress, with that trumped-up so-called oversight case that is against him, one postponement after the other. We see this now in this trumped-up COVID-19 matter that I'm faced with, and it continues. Clearly, our judicial system and clearly the National Prosecuting Authority is being abused and used for factional political purposes, and the consequence of it is that our judicial system and our whole democracy and our constitutional democracy is being undermined in the process. This is a very serious matter, and it really has to come to an end.
It's quite interesting that you accused the NPA of dragging its feet, and you also took us through the previous proceedings. But also quite interesting is that you also note somewhat of the same pattern with one court postponement after the other in the case involving suspended Secretary General of the party, Ace Magashule. Just expand on this assessment for us.
Well, you've heard what happened in the court the last time on the 3rd of November when the Secretary General of the ANC appeared. There was all throughout allegations by the National Prosecuting Authority that they had a witness against the Secretary General in the form of his former PA. Now the NPA and the prosecutor had to acknowledge that they've got no witness, and in fact they had to resort to threats to that particular witness or so-called witness to say that they will charge her, obviously because they haven't got a case against Comrade Ace Magashule. Now, I repeat again, we've seen this happening over and over again. We've seen it with the trumped-up charges that was eventually lost in a proper court case of Comrade Bongani Bongo. We see it now with Comrade Ace Magashule. We see it with myself. And so it continues. Honestly speaking, we are seeing an abuse of state institutions, and very specifically the National Prosecuting Authority, by those politicians also within the African National Congress who are in leadership positions and are allowing this to happen because they want to target certain specific individuals who they disagree with, and mostly these are people who stand for a clear economic policy in the form of radical economic transformation, and people like myself who have called for the immediate action in order to deal with the illegality of the arrest and imprisonment of President Jacob Zuma. You will recall, Nhlanhla, that I was actually arrested in front of the Estcourt prison facility while I was having a live interview with the SABC. And my information is that the police were instructed to arrest me by senior politicians who were watching that interview, who did not like the truth of the message that I was conveying, and then phone calls went out and said, arrest this man. That is the way in which politicians are now operating in this country and are abusing our police force and are abusing our national prosecuting authority.
Now, Mr. Niehaus, it's quite important to note that the NPA has not yet given their right of reply, and we will also attempt to get a response from them. But we do understand that you have a message for your supporters, very quickly if you may.
Well, my message is that our supporters now have to make sure that within the branches of the African National Congress that they organize. My message also to my supporters is that they must continue to support those comrades who are being targeted, and ultimately they must organize within the branches of the African National Congress to have a special national elective conference. We need to get rid of the current leadership who are failing us. We need to get rid of President Ramaphosa, the national office bearers, and the National Executive Committee of the ANC. My ultimate message is Ramaphosa must go.
You've heard it from the man himself, that's ANC member Carl Niehaus, accusing the NPA there of dragging its case, or rather dragging its feet relating to his case that's also related to the violation of COVID-19 regulations.